Hello, everyone. Welcome to Everything Arsenal. We are back again with Cozy. Arsenal are expected to make an official offer for Benjamin Sesko, but when is that going to be and how much are we going to offer? The latest on Douglas Luiz, could Arsenal actually pick him up for only £40 million? That would be absolutely amazing. And the latest on Zinchenko, where is he going to head to? And are we actually going to get some good money for him to use it elsewhere? And should we actually sell him or keep him? Cozy, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you doing? We are doing this on day 8, and it's
Mm.
it's amazing, purely amazing. So, I'm always geared up for this show these days. So, anyone who actually is watching this show, make sure you do watch it on a consistent basis because we are here on a daily basis. We're not going away.
Absolutely. So a lot to get into today, but Benjamin Sesko and Osimhen have been the talk of the town the last week. I mean, it's crazy to have deadline day basically before the transfer window opens. We are talking about we need to complete this deal before the transfer window even opens. But first off, let's start with Benjamin Sesko. This is what has been reported last night from inside the Canon saying Arsenal are preparing a formal offer for Benjamin Sesko. The club are working hard to complete a deal before Euro 2024. So as both me and Cozy have said to you guys, this deal has to be done by this week. I think even by the time it gets to Monday next week, it's already complicated. It's very fully focused on the Euros. Friendly matches already began last night, and it's going to be very, very difficult to get the deal done if you're trying to get the medicals and everything. Now, they might have terms agreed already, maybe just a case of Leipzig and Arsenal finalizing things, but you'll still need to do the medical. So if we make the offer this week, Cozy, do you think you're going to offer them what they want? Because this is what the release clause is, 65 million euros, and in terms of pounds, I think that's 55 million. Do you think you're going to straight up offer that and complete the deal within the first day, or do you think you're going to, try and tempt them with, 35 million first? Do you think that's what you're going to do?
Yeah, I think that's the reason as to why we've gone with a small with offers instead of
Mm.
triggering the release clause. Now, in most cases, what we've seen with Arsenal is we always want to test the water. We always want to take every opportunity, available on the market. I think with the Declan Rice deal, Arsenal thought they could do it for 80 million.
Mhm.
And that's what we were looking on until Manchester City came and spoiled the market. I think eventually Arsenal were planning to drag on negotiations until West Ham got fed up. So I think it's the same with the Benjamin Sesko situation. Arsenal know that they're clear favorites for the player at the moment. They think Chelsea are just monitoring the situation. I think Manchester United are kind of far away from the situation, although they are also present as well in the deal. So I think we don't want to commit to 65 million euros, and then yet you have an opportunity maybe of agreeing a deal at around 45 million or agreeing a deal at around around 50 million below the valuation. I think in terms of RB Leipzig, they will
Mm.
want to first listen from the player. And what the player says is going to really determine whether Arsenal have a chance of getting him below that valuation or not. So if we get news tomorrow or the day after tomorrow that Leipzig have been rejected by their own player and is going to move on and he doesn't want to stay, that means that they either listen to offers around, or they actually risk losing the player, to a release clause. But I don't think it's going to come down. I just think us not testing the water. We're just trying to, see whether they can come down. Maybe see whether we can, talk them into a 50 million euro deal, a 55 million euro deal. Right at the moment, I mean, we are good at bargaining these days, but I don't think it comes down. I just think we are testing the water at the moment.
Do you reckon they would do that if it was like a completely main target, or do you think they're only doing that because they know, okay, if it doesn't work out, you still have other options anyway?
Well, I mean, it's playing with fire. It's playing with fire.
Mm.
Chelsea are mad dogs. Sitting beneath the fire, and they're watching whatever is being cooked on the on the stove. They will want to jump in and grab it. So
Hyenas.
for you, yeah, for you to go and bid, let's say 30 million, let's say 40 million euros for a player who is valued at 65 million euros, that is really playing with fire. But I don't think they're doing it because of Sesko. I think they're doing it because they feel the player loves them. They feel the player is into the Arsenal project, and they also feel like Leipzig are willing to listen. Right? They don't want to sell, but they'll be willing to listen to a couple of offers, even if it was Declan Rice. I think with Declan Rice, we went kind of back and forth. Even the same with Kai Havertz, our initial offer was rejected. It was the second offer. So I think it's about Arsenal always testing the water. The Julian Timber deal, I mean, it was a cheaper option. It was a cheap deal, cheaper than Sesko. You would have thought Arsenal would have splashed just the money, in the first instance, and then it's over. I think we did 3 installments, 3 bids for Julian Timber until the third one was actually accepted. So I think it's club policy. You just can't tell whoever is handling the finances that we have agreed a deal without you testing the waters, without you trying to get a much better deal, a much better option because of FFP these days, and all the financial rules. So whether you are Kylian Mbappe, whether you are Robert Lewandowski, Arsenal will send in a humiliating bid first, and then everyone will report, oh, everyone at the club said this bid that was sent in that was sent in by Arsenal was absolutely laughable. It was ridiculous. It was shameful. And then Arsenal will start gaining ground. And also the advantage with you bidding smaller amounts is, if the club you're dealing with is willing to sell, the more bids you make, the more fear they have that you're eventually going to walk away. So they're also pressured into agreeing a deal. And maybe as Arsenal bid, the days to the Euros are coming, and there is pressure from Sesko's agents and Sesko's camp to onto RB Leipzig to let him go. We could see something that we could see a situation that plays out in Arsenal's hands rather than in RB Leipzig's hand. But at the moment, I think whether you are priority target, whether you're just a player that Arsenal would love to add to add to their squad, you're actually going to have bids that are a little bit not in line with the valuation of the player, at least for the first 1 or 2 bids.
I actually don't mind it as long as you've agreed personal terms with the player first, just the same as Declan Rice, as you said. I didn't actually mind it because I knew, okay, they've already convinced him to join the team. They know he's not going to change his mind and go to Man City, because people are like, hurry up, he's going to join Man City, Man City come in. No, you have to trust whatever he is doing, whatever he's doing at the moment. Whichever, if they've convinced a player to join the team, they can join it. They will join the team. So maybe they will tell them, listen, we're not going to offer that money for you like right away. We're going to try and see if they can take it down a little bit. And then that's fine. And I actually don't mind that, because Arsenal has been a team that has been bullied in the transfer window a lot. Yesterday, me and Kosi talked about us selling Chamberlain for 35 million and that being the highest. Like, we never sell players well at all for the last 20 years. And the different boards and the different regimes and the different managers, different systems, we've always struggled to sell players. Hazard, Coutinho, Bale, all of those players will sell for a lot of money. But you're the only team that really hasn't really sold anyone for that kind of money. So, and teams take players from us for free and then offer them to us the next season, telling us, okay, you need to pay that 5 million, like Ramsey to Juventus. It was very disrespectful. Teams were bullying us. We are having to overpay for players because
Fabregas.
Fabregas, Mustafi. How much did you pay for Mustafi? 30-something million?
35 million.
Socrates, 20-something, like all of these players, way too expensive. So we are being bullied in the transfer window. So recently, I think I'm happy that we don't get bullied in the transfer window. So do you think they will reject the first bid? I think personally, if they reject, it's going to be a very quick second bid, and maybe it can still happen within a week. But do you think it's guaranteed they're going to reject the first bid? And how much do you think you're going to offer first?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think the strategy we are employing these days is very good. I wouldn't actually. I know the likes of Madrid, they just go and pay 80 million on a player because they have already done their accounts and they don't want to waste a lot of time. But I don't think Arsenal are in any way, shape, or form doing bad business in terms of refusing to get bullied, in terms of refusing to overpay, in terms of refusing to pay ridiculous prices for players. Now, it is a guarantee that Arsenal will humiliate you on the first bid. Like, if you don't want to get humiliated, when you hear that Arsenal have sent in the first bid, just turn off your Twitter, just turn off your YouTube, just turn off Facebook, and wait 48 hours later until Arsenal go in with the second bid. Like, it is a guarantee. we will always do do a bad job at the first bid. But I think again, like we've said, it's about testing the waters. I think the first bid will be around 30 million euros plus
30
around
million
maybe,
euros.
yeah, 30 million euros plus 10 in add-ons, a total package of 40 million euros. I think it will
Wow.
be, yeah, I think it will be around there because what I think it's not about buying him at that price. It's about opening negotiations. It's about getting a way of starting negotiations with RB Leipzig. And the way you start negotiations, the way you see a club sees you as serious, is by getting into your bank, writing a check, and sending it. And you're like, we will pay this. Of course, it's going to be bounced back. It's going to be turned away. But in that process, you're hearing more from their point of view, and they're hearing more from your point of view. They're saying this is too low, right? In some cases, I think the Julian Timber deal, Arsenal had gone in initially with around 35 million euros in the first offer, and the club we're looking at 45 million euros. So Arsenal were told to go back and restructure the deal and add some more money. So it meant that the first bid was not far away. Although we made a second bid, which actually was rejected as well, yet the first bid was not far away. So I think it's about opening negotiations. It's about a way of getting us to sit on the table and talk to RB Leipzig. We have 40 million. Where are you guys standing? We are standing at 65 million euros. What is your maximum price? Okay, maximum price, maybe 55 million euros. And us like, our maximum price is 50 million euros. Can we find a way of bridging that 5 million euros? Probably. Can we find a way of, structuring the deal better so that we can actually win you over to the 50 million euros side? I guarantee anyone watching this video, if Arsenal don't just trigger the release clause, our first initial bid is not going to be more than 40 million euros, and it will be rejected within the first second of being sent in. It's a guarantee.
Okay, so you're expecting more news on that tomorrow. So we're this is definitely not the last time we're going to be talking about Sesko. Talked about him on a daily basis and definitely going to be talking about him tomorrow. Now, one player who could be affected with Benjamin Sesko coming in is obviously Nketiah. And this news came out about him today, and the Kellen Hughes reported that Arsenal reluctantly said to let Nketiah leave the club this summer. The Sun can reveal that Fulham are in pole position and would be willing to pay up to 30 million, but are likely to see competition from Crystal Palace and Wolves. I gave my thoughts on this earlier yesterday on a live stream. I'd like to know what Cozy makes of this. Did you expect us to get 40 million and 30 million offers for Nketiah? Were you actually surprised? Personally, I thought you were going to get maybe a 25 million offer, 20 million offer, and then Arsenal be like, no, you're not selling, and maybe eventually even keep, because the word that is there is reluctantly. So reluctantly because they wanted to keep him, or reluctantly because they're not really sure about 30 million, but they're like, okay, you know what, I'm just going to let you go. So which one do you think it is? Or do you think they actually don't want to sell him, or do you think it's just because of the money? And are you surprised it's 30 million offer?
Well, first I tell you, I've always thought that Nketiah is worth 30 million since 5 years ago. I don't know why. Like, whenever I think about Nketiah leaving Arsenal, it just the figure that pops up in my mind is 30 million euros. And even this summer, I thought about him and I was like, there is 30 million euros there. Now, is he worth more than 30 million euros? I mean, when you consider he's homegrown, Premier League proven, and he's been playing at the top level of the pyramid. So if he goes to a Fulham, if he goes to an Everton, if he goes to a Wolverhampton Wanderers, he could actually do a job, right? So if these guys are offering 30 million euros, please make sure they pay 10 more million, because they have the money. Those guys will have the money. However, Arsenal reluctantly, letting him go. It's not the first time we have had an opportunity to ship off a player, the right opportunity to ship off a player, and we have, somehow fumbled it. A very good example is Rob Holding. Rob Holding in 2021 and 2022, I think, Newcastle were dying to sign him before they signed Botman, before they signed, I think, was it Shah maybe as well? Before
Mm,
they signed all those high class quality centre backs, the likes of Dan
mm,
Ban, they
yeah.
wanted Rob Holding as as part of their rebuilding process. Arsenal stood their ground and they said Rob Holding is not for sale. And that is the day I was shocked. I was like, what? Excuse me? Are we
Mhm.
building a project around Rob Holding? And, almost 1 year ago, if we had sold Rob Holding and he had brought in a much stronger centre back that could have stood in for Saliba, we might be talking about a different situation in terms of what happened in terms of the title.
You can
So
you
for
can
me,
actually use you can actually use Nketiah as another example in terms on top of that. 2022 Wolves were ready to buy him.
exactly.
I wanted him sold at that time, but we kept him.
Exactly. And Crystal Palace have not come once offering good money around 25 to 35 million euros for this guy. And Arsenal just seem to keep him and keep him and keep him and keep him. So for me, I'm not surprised that Arsenal are reluctant. Like we've done it
Mm.
before. There is no guarantee that because he's not been good enough over the last half a decade, Arsenal are eventually going to let him go. They could keep him for homegrown, maybe status. They could keep him for any reason that we don't know, or maybe no one takes on his wages of 100K a week. That is a rope
Mm.
that we have put around our neck, right?
Mhm.
So it's going to be a lot. But for me, let me start off with the pricing.
Mm.
I think anyone that gives us 25 million euros and above, don't look back, take it and
Sell it.
run.
Mhm.
It's as simple as that. Don't look back, take it and run. I don't think there's so many clubs that yes, there's so many clubs interested because the lower tier of clubs are looking for a striker. I think like
Yep.
Wolves need one,
Fulham,
Everton need one,
Palace.
Crystal Palace need one, Fulham need one. So there's so many of them that need a striker. But how
Maybe a
many of
promoted
them
team.
exactly? How many of them are going to spend 40 million euros
Mm.
on a striker? And how many times have we seen it happen? Unless it is really bad business or really good business, most of them do deals right in the middle, and it's around 25 to 28 million euros, and that is record high. So for me, 25 million euros, I would sell Edin Ketia because that is good money. If I added three more departures, Arsenal could make a total of 80, 90 million euros, this summer just from three players, leaving the club. In terms of Arsenal letting him go, if we keep him, historical mistake.
He's he's
Historical
not going to
mistake.
be for
Yeah.
both the team and himself as well. He's not going to
Yeah,
play.
for both the team and himself. Because for the team, his value is dropping. Edin
Mm.
Nketiah, for Christ's sake, last played well against Sheffield United when I still had energy to watch a Premier League game 90 minutes without shaking. Like,
Mhm.
that is the last time Edin
Mm.
Nketiah played very well in a game.
Yeah.
And Mo
Yeah.
Smith Rowe assisted in that game, right?
Mm.
So it has been like, I would say, almost a year ever since we have seen
Mm.
Edin Nketiah come on the pitch confidently and do something. So clubs
Mm.
don't have actually a reason to come and say, "Oh, we are dying to sign Edin Nketiah because he's been, top of your top scorers. He's been top three of your top scorers. He's scored like what, 5 goals, 4 goals, and
Mhm.
those goals came a long time ago. Even the extinct volcano in Kai Havertz awakened, scored 20 GA, and Edin Nketiah is still on 5. So if
Mm.
Arsenal want to keep him, trust me, his valuation next summer will be 15 million euros or 12 million euros. It's as
Wow.
simple as that. Yeah. If you're bringing in a Sesko, if you're bringing in an Osimhen, if Martinelli is coming back, this guy is not going to play games. Gabriel Jesus right now is a wanderer, wandering from position to position. Could we use him at right wing? Could we use him at left wing? Could he actually occupy his central striking role that we actually bought him for? So if you have Gabriel Jesus, who rightly so should be ahead of Eddie, if you have the likes of Sesko, who rightly so should be ahead of Eddie, unless you just want to wait for his valuation to really drop, it's time to sell. I don't understand this reluctant thing. Like, reluctant? Seriously?
Mm.
The players you're
Maybe.
reluctant to sell,
Mm.
Odegaard, you're reluctant to sell. Partey, you're reluctant to sell. Jorginho, you're reluctant to sell. you're not reluctant to sell a five goal striker who last scored when the fixtures were released for last season. Not like
Now,
seriously.
there's there's people who would be have more nicer things to say about Nketiah. There's more people who would have worse things to say than what because they said about us taking the 25 million. Some people say sell him for free. Now, if those teams in the middle of the Premier League table do not have money to pay in terms of signing, could it be a loan deal, Cozy? Because Everton are also interested in potentially a long loan, an option which could appeal to Arsenal. But there are hopes that if any clubs want Nketiah, they can start a bidding war that can drive the final price to for him to decent levels. Now, for me, because the loan deal, I usually look at it for three different things. Either a young player coming from academy like a Nwaneri, and you're not really going to get game time, push him
Sure.
out on to another Premier League team or the Championship to get some experience, maybe even abroad to get some, to learn different things, different culture, and all that. That's the first thing, young player. Second, a player who's coming back from an injury. I think it was Aaron Ramsey coming back from a serious injury. I think he had broken his leg against Stoke and then came back, and then you sent him out on loan, and then you come back, get some game time. We see how you are. You play like maybe on a lower level, not from a team is trying to win the Premier League and playing every single day. No, that's the second part use of a loan deal. Or third, a player who's new to the country, like a Marquinhos is not really used to it, but you want him to get a bit of experience, English experience, so you send him out to the Championship or to League One to
Yeah.
get some experience. But my question is, because does Nketiah fit any of that? Is he a young player who's looking for experience? Is he an injured player who's just coming back? Is he a new player in England and trying to get to learn the culture? No. So would you send him out on loan? And do you think that even benefits the team at all? Why the loan?
The only way I would send him out on loan is this: a club that is willing to spend 35 million euros on him,
Mm,
put an obligation clause. Obligation,
mm,
not an option.
mm,
Obligation. Whether he does well or it doesn't do well, doesn't concern us. We need our
mm,
money first thing June 2025.
mm,
Options to buy. Loans without options, like dry loans,
mm.
unless that loan
Doesn't make
is to
sense.
Saudi Arabia. Unless it's to Saudi Arabia, because we know in Saudi Arabia he could score 2 goals, and the Arab man could say, "Wow, this
Do
guy,
you think do you
40
think they're
million."
trying to kind of risk and say, okay, let's send him out on loan. Maybe if he goes and scores 15 goals for Everton, his value goes up. Do you think that's too risky?
That is very risky. That is very,
Mm,
very risky. Now, like you've said, a loan deal, honestly,
mm,
should work under special circumstances. Like Arsenal knew what David Raya was, and Mikel
mm,
Arteta and Inaki Keina knew, and Brentford. Why Brentford agreed to that deal is they knew that Arsenal were never going to turn around, because the goalkeeping, coach at Arsenal
mm.
had worked with David Raya.
Yeah.
So you send that player to Arsenal or to another club because a deal cannot be done right now. I don't think that is Edin Ketia. I don't think, maybe if it's Everton, for Everton, and
Mm,
they're like,
mhm,
and you agree that because of FFP we cannot pay this much at the moment, but can you give us a year? And we are sure we are going to pay that money. Tick. That's okay. Still, that is a sale that has done right now, right? There are no more negotiations in the future.
yeah.
Secondly, William Saliba brought in. There's still a few doubts. He stays at Saint Etienne, then he goes back to Saint Etienne, then he goes to Nice, I think. That makes sense, right?
Yeah,
You want
that
him
that
to.
fits in the one for new in the city, trying
Yeah,
to learn the
exactly.
culture, send him out
E-
a bit. Yeah.
e- Exactly. But this kind of loan deals that Atletico Madrid is making with, Joao Felix, how
Mm,
exactly are you benefiting from that? Right? Like, how exactly? Just get him off the wage bill,
mm,
and then he's off. You've made either some good money, or you didn't make you didn't make good money. It's as simple as that. So for me, Edin Nketiah doesn't fit any of those. The only category he fits is a club that is willing to insert an obligation to buy.
mm,
There, we would say, still, this would be the last time we see Edin Nketiah in Arsenal colors. So, a loan deal, I don't know why Arsenal actually love them, because we've done them. And in most
mm,
cases, if they don't end up in a player leaving on a free, it ends up in a player going for 2 million, 3 million, like the Hector Bellerin one. I was like, he's going
Mm,
on loan to what? To Barcelona? Then Real
mm,
Betis?
mhm,
Why? Like, really,
mhm,
why? And then he comes back, his contract, he's left with 1 year deal. And then Real Betis is like, oh, we'll give you 2 million because his contract is running down. If you don't want that, guys, you can have your player. Oh,
mm,
thank you. Really, really, thank you. So for me, with Eddie, it's not a loan deal. His contract is still up. Aston can negotiate, a very good deal out of him. He's homegrown, a valuable asset these days. Can we do a sensible deal for
mm,
once in terms of selling? Can we do
mm,
a deal that everyone will say, well, Arsenal sold Eddie Nketiah for 27 million euros to West Ham, to
mm,
Crystal Palace, and they got their money and they're reinvesting that money in Benjamin Sesko? That would be the sensible thing. But I don't want us to pay. When do
mm,
we do loan deals and those loan deals like just go back? Like we sent Raya back, we
mm,
just sent Odegaard back. These clubs,
mm,
clubs are strategically giving us players, even on loan. They're strategically giving us players. Madrid knew that Odegaard coming at Arsenal, Arsenal were always going to cough up the money. Brentford made sure that we will cough up the money, right? So
mhm,
whoever takes him out on loan must cough the money. Otherwise, sell him 27 million euros. That's good money. 35 million euros. If anyone can be lied to into paying that much for Edin Nketiah, I don't think anyone's going to be lied to into paying that much. But a loan deal is honestly the biggest symbol of our poor
mm.
selling.
Just a quick one. If you're adding Ketia, which one do you think would suit him the most? Fulham, Wolves, Crystal Palace, Everton.
That's interesting. That's interesting. That's interesting. I think with Crystal Palace, I don't like them. The strategy, they rely too much on those two boys, Eze and Olise. If they lose
They're
one or
adding,
two,
they're adding, they're adding, they're
yeah,
added, they've added
they,
Kamada, and
yeah,
they're
they're
looking at
adding.
Somerville.
I like Dutch Kamada. I don't think they'll get Somerville. Do you think they will?
Mm. They could. I mean, now since the football they're playing and now Matete is looking good, where does Nketiah start really?
Um, I don't. I wouldn't trust the Crystal Palace project, honestly.
Mm,
I wouldn't trust the Fulham project as well. Like I can see Fulham stay in the Premier League next season, and then they get relegated the other
mm,
season. So I would want them.
mm,
I would want him to go to a stable project, a more stable project. And for me, if he has a chance to cross over to Everton, Everton are
mm.
going to rebuild. Everton are going to reshape their team, especially with
Yeah.
with new investments coming in. But also Wolves, I think they're a stable project. I don't see Wolves going down, especially like they pulled off that Gary O'Neill deal that is that was sensational. That manager can keep you in the
Mm,
Premier League safely for like 15 years. So I would say
mm,
Wolves, and the style of play Wolves do play as well. They create some good chances, at times. No, they do the counter attack. They can dominate games as well. So for me, Wolves and Everton for
yeah.
stability. I wouldn't want to see
Wolves
him. Yeah,
Wolves
Wolves and
create a lot of chances. Wolves create
yeah,
a lot of chances, so he might enjoy himself there.
yeah,
Everton,
Wolves.
unless
Uh,
they change their project, as you said, they rebuild.
mm,
Everton have always had the fans saying we don't create enough chances, one
yeah,
shot on goal in a full game.
yeah. No, no. For Everton, they don't create a lot of chances. I would look at it in terms of stability. Like, I don't
Mm,
think Everton are going to go down anytime soon. I don't think, they've had their rough patches flirting with relegation. I think that's over. They just need to improve that squad, and and they are sure they are not going down. Now with Fulham, right? With Fulham, because with Crystal Palace, way out, I don't want. If I'm Eddie Nketiah, I wouldn't go to Crystal Palace. They're a mediocre club that could hold you and refuse to sell you, and you're there for 6, 7 years. With
mm,
Fulham, I think their style of play is fantastic, like really, really fantastic. If you see how they played against us, how they played, a few, I think 5 minutes against Man City, fantastic style of play under Marco Silva. But I also think they're easily a ladder. They're easily
mm,
a step for you to go to a bigger club, to a bigger project. I think with Crystal Palace, you might have. We have not seen so many players come from Crystal Palace and um, they've gone elsewhere. Like they kind of keep that pool together.
mm,
You're always there. So I would say Fulham. You know, it's kind of a stepping stone. Like look at Joao Palhinha. They didn't get him long time ago. and he almost crossed over to Bayern, and I still think he will move on. So I can see that kind of situation happening. Tosin Adribayo as well. So I could see something
For
like that
me,
happening. He goes there, hits maybe what 11 goals, and then maybe there's interest from a West Ham. West Ham have the ability to go into Europe. Yeah, something like that.
For me, that's interesting because for me, I feel like Everton as well. They could also flat with relegation again next season. I actually wouldn't. That would be like my third pick. I'd probably go for. I'd actually go for Crystal Palace as their number one. The only worry is because of the style of football they're now playing. As Olise exciting, they're creating lots of chances for Mateta every game. He might really enjoy that. But the worry is he really going to start ahead of Mateta? And he might end up going there, and then Olise is sold, and then Eze sold the same window. So that wouldn't really make sense because
Yeah.
I feel like they have an exciting project going on. All the other things you said, yeah. My number two would probably be Wolves, and then Everton, and then Fulham. But let's see how it goes. But it's not the only Arsenal player who's been linked to the move away. Zinchenko as well, who we've not covered, has been linked away to a far better team though, because Bayern Munich are watching developments on Arsenal defender Alexander Zinchenko. This is according to John Cross of the Mirror. Now, Alphonso Davies is being linked to the move away. I think his contract is expiring next day, might end up at Real Madrid. So they're looking at a left back end. You guess who is the Bayern Munich coach these days? Company, a player who played with Zinchenko. So that would be interesting. He wants him to go there to be his left back. And now, Zinchenko, I've always said I would keep Zinchenko. I don't think Zinchenko was supposed to play against Liverpool away or those kind of games just because Timber got injured and Tomiyasu got injured and he literally couldn't get anyone else. I'm pretty sure, like against Salah, when you just pass so easily, I don't think you're supposed to play a game like that. He's definitely not the best defender. I prefer him being used in midfield. In terms of attacking abilities, we've seen some really good moments this season. The goal he scored, I think, against Burnley, the volley and stuff, the 1-2 with Gabriel Jesus creating a chance, I think it was for Odegaard or someone against Wolves or one of those teams. Like in terms of forward line, he's still very, very good going forward and pushing forward and giving those passes in between the lines to Odegaard and to Havertz in the midfield at that time. But in terms of defending, he's not the best. But personally, I would still keep him. Now, Bayern Munich want him. We're going to do a keep or sell because very soon to break down more in terms of keep or sell. But if Bayern Munich, what are you looking for from Bayern Munich? Are you like, okay, maybe I don't really want to sell, but I'm looking for a certain amount of money?
I think Mikel and Edu always say when an opportunity arises on the market, we will take it. Zinchenko to Bayern, that is an opportunity on the market. That is really an opportunity on the market. And this is the reason as why it's an opportunity. Personally, 100% I would keep. But because of his defensive problems, he must go to a club that dominates football. He must go to a club that totally dominates football. So you're
Don't
not
you
going
think we
to
do that?
We really do. We really do. Yeah. You're not going to see Fulham want him, or they shouldn't actually, if they're in their right mind. You're not going to see a team that is always defending or always on the back foot wants him. And the clubs that have a style of play that are mid-table that would want him, I would say Dortmund, maybe those kind of teams. You know how much they're going to give you. Dortmund are not going to spend 100, the 30s on him. They're going to tell you, give us Zinchenko on loan, and then we'll give you will give you a chance to take him at 15 million euros later on. So it's an opportunity on the market for Bayern to come in for him. And if Arsenal can agree a deal for him, that would be good. Like that would really, really be good. Because for me,
How much are you
I
looking
look at
for?
him. It's interesting. It's interesting.
You bought him for 35?
Yeah, we bought him for 35.
Mm.
I think not less than 30 as well.
Mm.
Not less than 30. Yeah. Because for me, I look at him as a player that is eventually going to become too unused. I see that happening. I really, really do see that happening. If you have Tomiyasu coming in and Julian Timber coming in, Timber could be durable, and he is durable. So that one injury, if it's not recurring, we might see him for a whole season. White is a whole season player. Gabriel is a whole season player, and Saliba is a whole season player. Thank you, Kivio. Thank you, Tomiyasu. But you might not have anywhere you play. You might play in the FA Cup. You might play in the Carabao Cup. Those trophies could could even be scrapped in the next 100 years. We might not have them.
Mm.
So he might be too unused. The level of competition that we are going against in the Champions League has changed. It's no longer going. We are no longer going against three teams home and away, where there is Copenhagen and
Club
and
Brugge.
Girona. You know,
Mm.
it's going to be ambush football. You're going to have to play Real Madrid because you're not in the same pot as them, and then the other team, it could be Bayern, and then the other team could be Atletico Madrid, right? So for
Mm.
me, I think his time at Arsenal would be still available if Julian Timber wasn't there. But with Julian Timber coming in and with Arsenal looking to strengthen on the left hand side, where you still have Kivio and Tomiyasu, it speaks volumes. It really, really speaks volumes. Mikel needs a player he can trust. He needs a player he can trust in both situations: left back, centre back, and also at times, tucking into midfield. He needs a player he can trust in those scenarios. So for me, I would sell Alexander Zinchenko if the right offer comes in. However, no pressure. I wouldn't force him out. And I wouldn't,
Mhm.
if I was Arsenal, I wouldn't come into the summer looking at money for Alexander Zinchenko. But it's just like you're on your door, and someone knocks on your door and he says, "Hey, have you received this government grant?" And you're like, "No, I've not received anything." And I'm like, "Okay, register here. You're going to receive some money. That is free money. You take it." So I think with Alexander Zinchenko, any free money comes in, any good money comes in, you take it.
You're saying someone knocks at your door, let Zinchenko go. So people have said the project has moved past Jesus. I've had people saying that. But we still play with an inverted fullback. So do you think the project has moved past Zinchenko
No,
already?
no. I
So
don't
they're
think the
still part
project.
of the team.
Yeah, they're still part of the squad. They're still very, very big parts of the squad, especially in terms of engagement, in terms of leadership, in terms of the extra quality that we don't get from players who have not been on this stage. They are winners and they have that mentality. So I don't think the Arsenal team has evolved past winners because we have won nothing.
Mm.
That's number one. Secondly, the same systems we employed when we brought them in are almost the same systems we're playing,
Mm.
but
Okay.
with more reliable players. That is
Mm.
because when you listen to Mikel Arteta's interviews, he wants to bully teams. He wants to suffocate teams, right?
Mm.
If you want to bully and suffocate, it means you must have players that are up to it in every single position, in every single scenario, in every single stadium, in every single game. I don't think Alexander Zinchenko has shown us a season where he says, "I'm up to it at the Anfield. I'm up to it at Man City." No, right? So he's up to it in some games and is off it in some games. That's what I would say. You've got to move him on, right? You've got
Mm.
to move him on because the manager doesn't trust him that much. The manager doesn't trust him that much. And when we get another player in the position that Mikel Arteta feels he is better. He can do a much better job. Maybe Diamonde, maybe Inacio, maybe Antonio Silva. Anyone that comes in will go straight above Zinchenko because the new scouting strategy is going to be: what do we need at left back? We need a defensively astute guy. We need someone who is comfortable. In situations where they're being taken on 1v1, and we need someone who is solid, and also someone who can be intelligent enough and can play the ball with his feet. So I think it's just timing the opportunity. If the opportunity comes in, right, you take him. You take it on.
You've pointed out a couple of good points. One today, another one on a different day. Um, he needs to go to a team that dominates football because I'm
Yeah.
just imagining if he was going to like an Everton who's doing a lot of defending or to a Nottingham, which would be absolutely crazy. And another thing you said the other day was you don't want to disrupt the team too early.
Yeah.
Get rid of Zinchenko, get rid of Partey, Jesus
Yeah.
has gone, and then even El Neni could have been a great part of the team. And then last season, Xhaka. So you don't want to disrupt all of the team, 8, 9 players before gathering everything. But lastly, I want to let us know what you make of Zinchenko's situation, everyone in the comments. Lastly, is Douglas Luiz. Because when you're doing our dream signings and players we wanted, I talked about Douglas Luiz, and then 1 week later we were linked to him again. I think this is a player that I really loves because being linked to him, we made a bid for him in 2022 deadline day, 20 million bid. It was rejected. Now, since then, he has improved as a player. The team has completely improved as well. They're now a Champions League team. So if 20 million got rejected at that time, you don't expect to pay 25 or 30 million at this time. Now, that's what I was thinking. Maybe that is what our plan is, to divide the buys this season. So if you get Osimhen, I think it's impossible to get someone like a Douglas Luiz. But if they get Sesko, they can potentially afford Douglas Luiz, and they can potentially afford a defender and a goalkeeper and maybe even a winger, because this is what was reported today. Arsenal have strong interest in Douglas Luiz, whose contract ends in 2026, and renewal with Aston Villa is stalling. Aston Villa need to sell an important player to comply with PSI rules and value him at over 40 million euros. So 40 million euros, 40 million pounds. That could be, if they're valuing him over maybe 45 million pounds. I actually think that's a bargain. I know we talked about midfielders, comparing him to Bruno before and all of those guys. But remember what I told you: if Partey is staying, I still want another midfielder. If I get Douglas Luiz, I would be happy with that. If Partey ends up leaving, I get Douglas Luiz, and then you can give me an Onana on top of that, I would take that. So what do you think of this Luiz link? Would you take him for that money? Do you think it's a no-brainer, or are you still like, nah, you can still get other midfielders, just wait and watch what is happening in the market first?
It's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. There are not so many like him. It's a no-brainer. Like, stability, ball control, takes care of the ball very well, stays central, can pick up a yellow card that helps the team, can put in a tackle, can run, still
Can
very
score from
young,
a corner kick.
can score from a corner kick, can create from deep. Can I go on? I think Villa would be absolutely stupid to sell him. If Aston Villa sell him next season, when I'm doing who won and lost the transfer window, there will be top lost the transfer window. That will be the worst business they have done. You can't let him go. You're going to the Champions League. You're going to have a season where you're competing on two fronts. I don't know what they want next season in terms of the Premier League, but I assume is to keep top four maybe, and then maybe go to the round of 16 in the UEFA Champions League, or maybe just play well in the UEFA Champions League. You cannot break your team. Like Douglas Luiz in midfield, if you take him out of that team, you're going to struggle to replace him. I don't know how they have him. I think it was very good scouting to get him from Man City. Like, that was good. He's a real talent. So for me, for Arsenal, it's a no-brainer. Arsenal, Mikel Arteta wants him. He's been around the targets for a long time. He's been around the transfer talks around Arsenal for a long time. Could it be this summer? No, it can't be this summer. I think 45 million is a bargain. I think 50 million is a bargain. I think 55 million is a bargain for this guy. And the team in which he plays, because Villa don't dominate football, as Arsenal. Because for us, we kind of slow it down and freeze the opponent. With Villa, they will have the ball lots of the time, but it's a little bit pacey. And when you look at him, he loves it calm. He makes it calm. He's a calm player. He would love to be on the ball, scan a little bit around what's happening, and then just pass it sideways. Occasionally release that ball breaking through the lines. From like, he screams Pep Guardiola. He screams Mikel Arteta. He screams Arsenal. He screams Man City. So for me, it's a no-brainer. It's a no-brainer. At 45 million, why haven't we done the deal already?
Yeah, it should happen right away. For me, it was part of my dream signings. I think he should definitely be brought in. Do you think it's going to help us more defensively or more attacking wise, in terms of the numbers?
No, I think more attacking wise. Because if you're looking to lock teams in, the one thing you need is players who don't lose the ball, and his passing accuracy is a joke. But when we talk about passing accuracy, you have players like Odegaard, whose passing accuracy is a joke as well, and Declan Rice, who literally, is always in the 88s and the 90s in terms of passing accuracy. So when you have those three in your midfield, they can find each other, but they can also, break through the lines without losing the ball. I think I was watching Mikhailo Modric at Chelsea, and there was a game where he literally attempted 5 progressive passes, 5 to 6 progressive passes, and he gave away all of them. Like, he gave away the ball in attempt. So when you have a player like Douglas Luiz, when you are in the final third of an opponent, you literally want to keep the ball there, because when you lose it, your defenders are springing, are on springs, and you're playing a very, very high line. So that's what would help us. That bit of creativity obviously would come in, but because he's able to push up, he would allow Odegaard to push close the penalty area. He would allow Declan Rice to push over to the penalty area. He can stay central, so we will see a couple of shots out of the penalty area from him. I think he boosts us in terms of being a dangerous beast offensively than defensively.
Last question, a big one. 110 million to spend. Choose one. Buy Osimhen only or buy Sesko and Douglas Luiz as option B?
Buy Sesko and Douglas Luiz. Actually, no. Buy Douglas Luiz and Sesko, because, like, before, this is a deal we need to do as Villa close their eyes to think, are we making the right decision? By the time they open their eyes, done deal. Here we go from Fabrizio. They need to just see out of this deal from Fabrizio's page. The Osimhen one would be nice, like a mega signing every single summer, a 100 million pound signing every single summer. What are we talking? Are we talking Arsenal becoming the next Real Madrid? But we are not yet there. We need to have the foundation. After this summer, you can tell me that Arsenal have gone and signed a centre back for 200 million. I wouldn't care. You can tell me that Arsenal have decided a central midfielder for 6 billion. I wouldn't care, because the frame is there, the framework is there. The what you would call the skeleton of the team has been made strong. So whoever comes in either fits in or you don't fit in, right? It's a winning team, it's a young team, it's entering their prime. So you're either part of us or you're not part of us. So for me, two more just to bolster those midfield options and the attacking options, and then Osimhen, we can come for you in 2025. I promise.
Interesting. So our Twitter handles are scrolling down the bottom. Make sure to follow at Glenn Keitlin, also calls the Arsenal. We can have more conversations there as well. So that would be much greatly appreciated. Cause, thank you for coming on as always. Make sure to catch us on Cause's channel later today as well, as we discuss other transfer news and transfer updates. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch up with you guys on the next